The mansion stood like a relic of the past, its grandeur now veiled in the shadows of isolation. The young master leaned against the vast window of the drawing room, the dusky hues of twilight casting a melancholic glow across his face. Alone since the sudden loss of his parents, he found the silence within these walls oppressive. Then, as if summoned by fate, she appeared. She introduced herself simply as a maid, dressed in an impeccably clean uniform. Her demeanor was calm yet commanding, her every move deliberate, as if the weight of centuries rested on her shoulders. She arrived without explanation, offering her service to the household with an enigmatic smile. "You don't even know my name," he remarked warily. "Why are you here?" "I know enough," she replied with a bow. "That's all that matters." Her response, while polite, unnerved him. Her presence felt both comforting and invasive, like a familiar melody he couldn't place. Days bled into weeks, and her uncanny efficiency began to reveal itself. She anticipated his needs with a precision that bordered on the unnatural. If a storm brewed, she had already prepared his coat and umbrella. If he misplaced his keys, they reappeared without explanation. One evening, as she set a tray of tea before him, he stared at her suspiciously. "Are you spying on me?" "No," she said with a faint smile. "I simply observe." Her cryptic nature only deepened his suspicions. What kind of person could predict his every move so flawlessly? One stormy night, restless from unsettling dreams, he wandered the darkened halls. The faint glow of candlelight from the kitchen drew him forward. There, she stood, her silhouette framed by the rain-soaked window. She seemed lost in thought, her expression unusually tense. "Is something wrong?" he asked, his voice cutting through the quiet. She turned, her usual composure restored. "Just ensuring everything is as it should be." Her vague reply left him uneasy. He couldn't help but wonder what dangers lurked outside that only she seemed aware of. The following morning, he decided he couldn't let his questions fester any longer. "Who are you really?" he asked, as she prepared breakfast. "And don't give me another evasive answer." She looked up from her work, her golden eyes meeting his with a calm intensity. "I'm someone who wishes to see you live as you're meant to." "What does that even mean?" he pressed, frustration creeping into his tone. She paused, as if carefully weighing her words. "It means you'll understand when you're ready." Her answers, though kind, only seemed to raise more questions. Despite her cryptic nature, he couldn't deny the changes her presence had brought. The once lifeless mansion now thrummed with a quiet energy, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that she was guarding something, perhaps even from him. One day, he found a letter slipped beneath his door. The handwriting was elegant and unfamiliar. It read, "Do not question her too deeply. Trust her, for she knows more than you think." Confronting her with the letter later, he found her reaction predictably calm. "Did you write this?" he asked. "No," she replied simply, glancing at the paper before returning to her task. "Then who did?" "That's a question for you to answer," she said, her tone final. His frustration grew, but so did his dependence on her. Late one evening, as he brooded over the letter in his study, he heard a soft knock. She entered without waiting for his permission, carrying a tray with a single cup of tea. "You shouldn't stress yourself over things beyond your understanding," she said, her voice unusually gentle. "How am I supposed to trust someone who won't even tell me the truth?" He shot back, his tone sharper than he intended. She placed the tray on his desk and met his gaze, unflinching. "Because sometimes the truth is a burden you're not ready to bear." As time passed, he began to notice the peculiar way she interacted with the mansion. She walked its halls like she had always belonged there, her hands brushing over furniture with a reverence that seemed almost affectionate. "Have you been here before?" he asked one day, his curiosity breaking through his wariness. She paused in her work, a faint smile playing on her lips. "In a way," she said, her tone evasive. Her answers were always like this, tantalizing fragments that only deepened the mystery. One particularly cold evening, he found her in the library, gazing at an old portrait of his parents. She seemed lost in thought, her expression uncharacteristically soft. "They were kind people," she murmured, startling him. "You knew them?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. "I know more than you think," she replied, turning to face him, "but it's not my place to speak of the past." Her words unsettled him. What secrets did she carry about his family, about this house? Their interactions grew more complex, a web of unspoken truths and veiled intentions. One night, as he prepared to confront her once more, a sudden blackout plunged the mansion into darkness. He heard her voice before he saw her. "Stay where you are," she commanded, her tone uncharacteristically urgent. Ignoring her, he lit a candle and made his way through the dim corridors. He found her in the foyer, standing by the door with a calmness that felt almost menacing. "What's going on?" he demanded. She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "It's nothing you need to concern yourself with. Go back to your room." But he couldn't. He couldn't let her secrets continue to haunt the house and his mind. The following morning, she seemed unchanged, her usual poise intact. But he couldn't ignore the shift in the air, the feeling that something monumental was approaching. "You won't tell me what's happening, will you?" he asked her. She hesitated, her calm exterior cracking ever so slightly. "Not yet," she admitted, "but soon you'll understand everything." Her words lingered as he watched her leave the room, her figure disappearing down the hall. For now, he would wait. But the truth, he realized, would not remain hidden forever.